Welcome to Steep Stairs Podcast. I'm Joey Walker.
And I'm Yahaira Ramirez. In our fourth episode, we dive into issues of mental health and stress. Yahaira Souza, a 2020 Scriber graduate, shares her story about navigating schizoaffective and bipolar disorders as a teenager.
Her story is a part of Scriber's 2021 publication, This Smile is for Everyone Else. Later in this episode, we'll hear from Scriber staff about their pandemic teaching experiences. This episode comes with a content warning for stress, anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation. If you or someone you know is struggling, you are not alone. Please reach out to a trusted counselor, teacher, or parent because you are worth it. If you are in a crisis, call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. In our first segment, several students share their stressors, their reaction to stress and other challenges, and their most valuable coping strategies.
What causes you the most stress?
What causes you the most stress?
What causes you the most stress?
Getting sick causes me stress.
My family tends to cause the most stress in my life.
My family and schoolwork.
Currently, school.
I don't want to say school, but school causes me a lot of stress.
School causes me the most stress.
Schoolwork and my mental health.
Probably school and work.
Missing school can cause me stress.
Being behind in school, probably, and just not being able to work.
Deadlines.
It seems that the later you get into a school year, the more and more stress you get.
The expectations from other people and trying to meet them.
Thinking about senior year and what comes after senior year.
Not entirely knowing what I want to do after high school. That's kind of like a big thing. I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years, and that's kind of worrying for me.
How do you experience stress physically in your body?
How do you experience stress?
How do you experience stress physically in your own body?
I feel my heart beat faster and harder, and my muscles get tense.
So I have anxiety tics where I jerk my neck really fast. I have one where I hit myself. I pick at the skin on my fingers.
When I'm stressed out, I get tingly in my fingers.
Sometimes I will have mental breakdowns or sometimes go into nervous shock and my whole body freezes up.
I get a lot of headaches, and I do unfortunately bite my nails. They're pretty jagged right now.
I get a really bad migraine.
I get overwhelmed or I get really shaky.
I carry stress very heavily in my joints and my body, my back and my neck, and headaches for sure. Definitely migraines.
When I'm super stressed out, my head starts to hurt and I get really tired, or I just get really irritated and I go to sleep. I get just really tired.
I get migraines and I get really sleepy.
I'll feel sort of feeling in my chest, a tightness in my chest. But I've actually gotten physically sick before from stress.
Well, my nervous system kind of does this thing where I actually physically get sick after a certain point of stress.
I fidget a lot. I'm always shaking my leg, or I'll be tapping my fingers and I won't even realize it.
I'll start to fidget, or my head will hurt, or my stomach will hurt. Makes it way harder for me to eat, and I'll get dizzy sometimes.
How has the quarantine and remote learning impacted your mental health?
How has the quarantine and remote learning impacted your mental health?
How has the quarantine and remote learning impacted your mental health?
I'm a very extroverted person, and so not being in a school and around people has kind of made my mental health decline a bit.
It's had a very big impact and not a good one. I had a breakdown. It was a whole big thing. But over the course of quarantine, it's been a roller coaster.
It's kind of brought my mental health down just because I'm not really around people anymore, and it's kind of harder to make friends and talk to people. It's kind of gone down, but I feel like right now it's actually getting better.
I can tell that I have more depression, I guess.
It's been very up and down. There's been times where it's really helped my mental health because it's allowed me to have time to myself and think and just learn about myself and how to take care of myself. But it's also fed into bad habits that worsened my mental health.
It's had some pros and cons. Doing the work can be a bit harder when a teacher isn't around to actually visually show you things. In another way, it has helped decrease my social anxiety.
At first, like everybody, it was really bad. Like I felt really isolated and, just like alone. And recently, I feel like it's been getting a lot better.
Well, I thought I was an extrovert, and then they put me in my house for weeks on weeks on weeks, and I realized I love being by myself. And the fact that I learned how to be by myself made it so much easier for me to be a good friend to the people that need it and set those boundaries to say when, I do need to be alone today, I need to take care of business. I get to make those decisions for myself now.
I've had time to focus on myself.
I'd say both negatively and positively. Not being around my friends, I've really struggled with that. But as someone who struggles with health problems, it's been easier for me to access school.
I feel like it actually helped me. I feel like I like being alone more. I still see my people when I want.
I've never been a big social guy, so it's kind of nice to be a little anonymous.
What have you learned about yourself in this past year?
What have you learned about yourself this past year?
What have you learned about yourself this past year?
I've learned that I value being around other people a lot more than I thought I did. I've also just learned a lot about myself, discovering more and more about who I am.
I've learned that sometimes you just really need to try and focus on yourself before you try and focus on somebody else.
I've learned that I have better days, or I'm in a better mood when I wake up earlier in the day, earlier than I want to wake up.
I learned that if I can put my mind to something, I can do it.
That I can go through a lot and still be somewhat okay, at least.
I feel like what I've learned is that I'm more resilient than I thought I was. I feel like I've grown just as a person.
I am a lot more emotional than I thought.
I feel like I just have a really bad temper and I just need to learn how to let things go. That is the main thing I feel like I've learned.
I think I really thought I was a very different person when I was in quarantine, and I brought myself back around to the authentic version of myself that really has value for herself and stands up for herself.
What is your most effective strategy to deal with stress?
What is your most effective strategy to deal with stress?
How do you deal with the stress?
My cat's here with me right now, actually, and he's one of the biggest ways that I deal with stress. I also have 2 therapists and a psychiatrist, so I have a big support system.
Between going outside and getting fresh air to just even reading a book outside, it just calms me down. The fresh air and having something else to focus on.
I'm kind of struggling with that one right now because over the summer and at the beginning of quarantine, I think it was a lot easier because I had a lot of free time. But I think having a set routine is the most decompressing I can do with the amount of time I have. My consistency is a strategy that I use.
Honestly, what I do is I sleep it off.
Probably sleeping, but also the saying, out of sight, out of mind.
Sleeping. Sleeping in video games. They kind of help get my mind off of things, and hanging out with close friends.
My most effective is either going to sleep and letting my mind rest after being stressed out all day, or going to my mom so she can help me out with a timeline of things to get done so I don't have to be stressed out and I actually have a plan.
I've been trying to meditate a lot more recently, and I feel like that's been helping me a lot.
I do a lot of breathing exercises, and sometimes I'll just kind of go somewhere to be by myself, take deep breaths, and tell myself that it's okay.
Energy. I've found ways to take my stress and perform better when under it. I use it more as a motivation.
From the collective to the individual, we invited Yahaira Souza to read her story, Cicatriz Rosa, that for her represents that she created something beautiful from the scars of her illnesses. Following her reading, Yahaira is interviewed by fellow student Zoe Cottery Miller.
Cicatriz Rosa. As the trees drift away, the colors start to smear past the fast-moving bus. I really did it this time. I'm holding on to what is now my guitar, like it's my child, which I will keep safe. I name him Ladron because he's going to steal the show when I perform. I remember what my teacher said just a few hours earlier. I was given 2 guitars by a couple in Edmonds, and they told me to make sure to give them to the right people. I think you're one of them. I can't believe it. Of all the people, and she chose me. Well, then I must be pretty all right at being a musician if she believes in me. Hey, someone says. I snap out of my thoughts, realizing an older man across the aisle is talking to me. What? I say, and my voice cracks. I'm nervous because I don't live in the safest area. Play me a song. Play it something like do-do-do-do-do-da-do. He says as he strums an air guitar. He has wide eyes that pop with passion, like he's ready for whatever comes next. He wears a nice jean jacket, and he's mostly bald with gray patches that contrast with his ebony skin. I look around the bus to see who else is listening. I have to make sure I'm not just seeing things. I'm confused and nervous, but down to talk. I wish I could, but I have a long ride home. I can't get kicked off the bus, I say. How about something like do-da-do-do? He asks with a jazzy voice. I chuckle lightheartedly, but I'm not sure what to do. Do I start playing? Sorry, but I can't. There's too many people. I tell him, let me tell you something. Do you see signs that say you can't play any instruments? Well, there's one that says you can't play music, I answer, but not anything about instruments, he says joyfully. See, at one time there were signs that said black people couldn't sit on a certain side of the bus. It was a rule. Did it make it wrong, or was it truly wrong? His eye twitches a little, like he has seen things and has stories to tell. Lucky me, I have the chance to listen. Now look at me, I can sit where I want, he gleams. Music is a beautiful thing that deserves to be shared with the world and people around you. Don't ever let anyone take it away from you. Ever. I know he's right, but I'm not sure what to do. I don't have enough room here, but I can play once we get off the bus, I say. I turn to watch all the scenery, houses, and streets slip past my window. Suddenly the brakes screech, and we are at a transit center, my stop. I grab the guitar, swing my backpack on, and head off the bus. The sun is soon to set, but for now it's hesitant. Switching through the chords I know, I start to play a little tune, and he dances behind me with a little pep in his step. When I finish the song, he pants a little, and we burst into laughter. Straight from the soul, he says. He points at me, then walks away. Even though people watch as if we're from another planet, I don't care. I'm enjoying a moment where everything feels like it's fallen into place in the world. This moment is real. I know I'm here, and I can't say the same for many other days during this past decade, where I seem to constantly lose touch with who I was and question what was real and what wasn't. I'm leaving, I said to my brother. I reached for my sweater and shoes in a hurry to escape through the door. No, you're not. It's too dark. You'll get kidnapped, he said. His brows wrinkled and his eyes were like that of a panther, narrowed with frustration and disapproval. I can't stand the yelling, and I'm not feeling well. I need to go, I said. I couldn't block the sounds in the background. I don't know how it began, but I knew I wasn't about to get into it. Some days I'd walk to the gas station when the stars were out and the moon was glistening and buy myself some store-brand chocolate. Coming home, I'd tuck myself into bed and turn the music on and the jams would break. Tears would drench my cheeks. I'd feel my heart crack and it hurt like hell. Chocolate felt like the sweetest thing in my life. If you go, I'm coming, he said. He followed me out our Linwood apartment. I was already feeling refreshed. At night, things never felt as real as they did during the day. The fall air was crisp and reminded me of the nights I did a paper route with my older sister. We would be buried in stacks of newspaper from sundown to sunrise, blasting music and drinking Jack in the Box coffee to stay awake. The pay was but hard work pays less sometimes. When we got to a tunnel, my brother pulled out a blunt. "This is top shelf," he said. "Nice." I sat on the curbs, facing out at the spray-painted walls as he lit up the blunt. People told me weed could make everything better. Panic attacks since I was 5, depression, bipolar disorder, hallucinations. It was supposed to be great for those kind of things. But the psychedelic feelings weren't enough to make me want to go back home with all of the arguments. It was depressing. It seemed like no one really wanted to be there. We all had the same routine: go to school, work, come home, eat, watch TV, or look at our phones, sleep. It wasn't really living. It was just time wasting away. I didn't want things to be like that forever, and I definitely wanted better things for my younger brother and nephew. By the age of 15, I was already used to the depression. All of the things in my life I couldn't control had created a monster that hung over my shoulder. A monster who was pretty kind when you got to know him. He was just as sad as I was, and the thought of suicide was comfortable for him too. As we continued walking down the street, my brother started playing Gorillaz Feel Good Inc. on his phone. I had to buckle up because my heart began to palpitate as loud as a bass drum and faster than a rocket ship. When I looked at him, his face transformed into bats screeching and flapping their wings into the night stars. I heard the blood in my ears racing briskly through my veins. I couldn't breathe. When I looked at him again, his face was normal. "What's wrong?" my brother asked with wide eyes when he saw the terror in my face. "I don't feel so good," I said. "My heart feels like it's going to explode." I pointed to my throat, and he looked over to see it trying to beat through my chest. In my head, I was holding my heart in my hands. I'd been having hallucinations for about 2 years, and they always happened the same way. One day I'd been looking through my phone when I glanced up and heard the crunch of bones. It was me suspended in the air with a broken spine. I'd been treated at Seattle Children's Hospital twice, once for 3 days, diagnosis bipolar disorder, the other time for 5 days, diagnosis schizoaffective disorder. "Holy shit," my brother said, grabbing his head and pulling his hair. His paranoia was deep regarding my regular chest pain, but he hadn't seen me like this before. "Call an ambulance." He ran, leaving me alone on the sidewalk. He had to get rid of the weed. He didn't want to get involved with the police. Somehow I dialed 911, waited for what felt like forever for an ambulance to arrive. 2 paramedics got out, came over to where I stood. "I don't know what's going on. I think it's a panic attack," I told them. One of them laughed and said, "Breathe." His laugh invalidated everything. How do you know what I'm feeling or what it's like? But my heart's racing and I don't know what to do. I'm scared, I said. They asked a series of questions and I tried to answer them. Finally, I got into the ambulance and they told me to get on the stretcher. As I look at the reflection in the window from within the ambulance, I wasn't sure if I was human. I repeated my name in my head, Yahaira, Yahaira, so I wouldn't forget. As I repeated it, though, it lost its meaning, like I was going to forget anyway. When we arrived at the hospital, flames engulfed my room. The walls were melting to the very ground, and the mirror was moving in circles with my heart still jumping in my chest. Hell is going to take me tonight. Death had always drawn my attention since I was a kid. My grandma told me about a paradise that was beyond my circumstances. Heaven, a place without pain, with all you could ever dream of. I wanted to go there. I wanted to escape our 2-bedroom apartment where 9 of us slept on the floor with blankets. People I knew living in the same area began to move to nice houses, and it felt like the rapture. They were lifted to a good life, but it wasn't my family's turn yet. I asked my grandma why we couldn't get to heaven sooner. "Suicide is a sin, and you'll go to hell if you try," she told me once, with a look of concern. She seemed uncertain, despite her faith in religion, about what might come after. As the IV monitor hummed, I stared at my shoes, trying to regain my sanity. "You're human. You're seeing flames because of something happening in your head." My heart kept kicking and punching, trying its best to escape the walls of meat and bones within. It seemed like there could be a bloody mess in seconds. "Please, please don't run away from me," I told it. The nurse walked in with a smile on her face. Like this was just some kind of joke to everyone. I might as well die. I saved myself the shame. She stuck a needle in my arm. It's gonna be a little cold, she said with a grin. The cool liquid poured through every vein and spread to my chest as she connected me to the IV. I took a deep breath, hoping it would end. For a moment, my brain thought I was drowning, but it didn't matter to me. I tried my best to rest on the hospital bed as time ticked over my head, but life went by in slow motion. This is it. I'm leaving tonight. You'll be all right? The nurse asked. I nodded. She laughed again, then left. I struggled to keep my eyes open like they were made of stone and everything was trying to go black. You can close your eyes now. The voice was a whisper, soothing and soft. There was someone or something next to me, and his words slithered into my ears like snakes. His shadow was comforting, but his whisper sent shivers that spread from my ears to the rest of my body. Come with me and I'll make you a promise. You'll never hurt again. He sounded convincing. What could he be? A demon, the devil, an angel? Whatever he was, his voice seemed like a bright light that could pull me to somewhere safe. My eyes darted around as he spoke, as if he could read my thoughts. Every time I closed my eyes, my blood pressure dropped and my eyes shot up, regardless of how heavy they were or how tired I was. I'm trying to go with you, but I think you're the devil. I said to him, I'm not gonna hurt you. You know I don't want to stay, but I can't trust you. With that, he vanished. My heart sank. Wait, maybe I made a mistake.
What made you decide to write this story?
It's a story that I thought it would show what I was actually going through, that I wasn't just who they saw me as, just like this quiet person, seemed lazier, they know what's happening behind closed doors, that other people can relate to it, that it would mark that it is something that happened and that I would make it out of it and do so much more.
What is the story behind the title?
Cicatriz Rosa is pink scar. I thought that the situation, a little scarring, they did leave a mark.
What was difficult about the process?
Thinking about the kind of judgment I would get. One of the things is smoking weed. I thought people would be judgmental about it. You deserve what happened to you.
How do you look back on that time in your life?
I look back at it as something that created who I am today. As character development, I try to see it as that. In a sense, I guess it makes me unique. I've experienced things that maybe others haven't before, like seen things that nobody else could see, and I guess in a sense it makes me feel a little special. I look back at it as something that just had to happen, and I came to terms with it, and I'm pretty cool about it.
Do you still have trouble with your meds making your life too monotone?
Nope. I finally got it fixed, and I feel pretty great. I realized that at the beginning of taking medicine, it was difficult, and I also wanted to stop taking it because, it made me feel like I couldn't see the world for what it was, and like that it was blocking me from something. But I feel great. I have energy, and I didn't at the beginning of taking the medicine, and I can actually do stuff without having huge panic attacks or completely disconnecting from reality.
What are some of your other coping skills?
Usually listening to music makes me feel better. Playing music for me, on the guitar. Painting, writing. If I'm not feeling well, I'll try to ground myself by looking at everything and talking to someone so I could feel connected to the world again. Sometimes I just need someone to hold my hand and I'll come back.
Have you written any music about your mental illnesses?
I've been working on some. I haven't released anything, but I'm trying to get it recorded so that I can. It was, about the hallucinations and being scared at night because of things trying to reach me. And I'm going to be working on more music.
What are you hoping for this story to accomplish, either personally or for others?
I want to look back at it and make that person, that side of me, proud. Yes, I made it. I'm living that life, that it was all worth it. And for other people, I hope that they can know that they're not alone, of course, that they can succeed too from their situations, regardless of where it might be, that you just gotta hold on and it'll get so much better. Even if it's like the little moments, life is worth living.
How do you feel knowing other people will hear your story?
Well, that makes me nervous. I'm just hoping that it's not something that they can look at and be like, ugh, that's weird. Or be like, that's pretty dumb. That's something that I wouldn't like. But I hope that they can be inspired, that people can be inspired, right? Yeah. But what are you gonna do? You gotta put yourself out there regardless of that. And if people like it, they'll like it. And if they don't, they don't. But let's focus on the good stuff.
What insights can you give people to understand this particular struggle with mental illness better?
For example, if somebody's feeling disconnected with reality, like they feel like nothing is real, or they're getting like, panicking, things like that, I feel like someone else could either give them space to breathe if they need it, or some people might want someone to like maybe give them a hug and hold their hand so that they can feel that they are here, and that other people realize they're here, because that makes it real. I know that sometimes I still can't tell, even when I'm holding on to like material things, such as like a table, whatever's next to me, because I still feel like I'm not awake, or that I didn't wake up this morning. So when it's an actual person and you can see their face, it's much easier to come back. Well, it doesn't make them crazy. It doesn't make them anyone who isn't capable of living a normal life, because they're still very well capable of achieving things and just as good as anybody else.
Taking care of one's mental health is a practice that everyone needs, whether it's managing a complicated disorder or just making time for mindfulness in your day. Elias Fukari interviewed our staff during the week of transition between all remote and hybrid learning to capture their take on the roller coaster of challenges and emotions in this particular moment of change.
What is your name and what do you teach?
My name is Isabel and I teach science.
My name is Dana and I teach social skills and English.
My name is Sammy and I teach English and leadership.
My name is Rachel and I'm the librarian.
My name is Dave and I administrate a bit and I teach English.
Hi, my name is Nate and I teach history and entry.
Hi, my name's Brett and I supervise the CBL program.
My name is Coley. I teach social studies and special education.
Hello, my name is Peter and I teach social studies at this time.
What has the overall experience of living through a pandemic been like for you?
Stressful and lonely.
Very stressful, very lonely, but it's also given me a chance to realize that I am very flexible and I've made it work, and you guys have made it work.
Has taught me that people can adapt.
Very disappointing for like the things that could have been, feelings of hopelessness, but then also feelings of solidifying my community and like what is important to me.
Challenging, difficult. Yeah, I lost a family member last year, and that was very hard. At the same time, it's been gratifying to work with such a committed staff and to see people rally and to work together to care for students.
For me, it has been fortunately not that bad, so I feel personally pretty lucky.
Yeah, I guess living through the pandemic for me has had its like ups and downs. There's been a lot more ups because it's given me a lot of time to reflect and have a lot of growth and kind of like rediscover like where I'm going, things like that. And there's been a lot of struggle, but overall, I'd say it's been like pretty good.
Has allowed me time to, like Brett said, more positive life decisions, showed that I am a very adaptable and flexible person.
The grand or the great reset, I would say, for a lot of us. And I feel very fortunate to be in a position where I can change some things for the positive and appreciate the things that I didn't appreciate before. And I know I'll never forget this year. And I think that's kind of the thing in life when you get to my age that's important is, taking stock of what's important. So that's what this has done for me.
What do you miss most about traditional Scriber life?
Because I haven't gotten to experience real Scriber life. But I definitely know I am missing getting to know all of the students.
Just the energy that you all give me to keep going every day. That's what I miss the most.
I miss seeing kids laugh.
I miss the unpredictableness at school, like in the library. No day was ever the same.
Agreed. I think the unpredictability is something I really miss. I mean, I always come to school with a plan, but then within the first 5 or 10 minutes, the plan changes immediately. There's a wonderfulness about that, the spontaneity and just when you bring all these people together in one place, you never know what's going to happen.
I miss the excitement, right? During the pandemic, things have been, pretty neutral and kind of laid back for me anyway, but I used to say there was never a boring day at Scriber, and I realized that I actually do miss that a little bit.
Really miss those long conversations with students, like really getting to know them and know who they are as individuals. And I think the Zoom format doesn't really allow itself to do that.
Just the interaction that you got to see between the students, the staff, and the smell of blueberry in the hallway.
I miss the fun table at lunch. I miss Chris Kratz and Chris Kratz's candy, but mostly Chris Kratz. I miss my family class where students seem to always be throwing things at each other and getting in trouble and laughing and waking kids up that fall asleep by slamming books in the desk and then laughing. So yeah, all that kind of stuff I miss.
What is your biggest challenge as a remote teacher?
To make science interesting, because science is more fun when you get to do it, but that's hard to do on a computer.
But talking to myself and missing the communication and connection with the kids has been the most challenging, and not being re-energized every day by my students.
For me, I don't necessarily understand people unless I can see them 3D. Like I need to be able to see their faces, and I can't understand a lot. I'm missing a lot, I think.
Just like seeing only my face in a sea of black squares is, after a year, I mean, it didn't take a full year, but it's pretty depressing.
I miss being in the presence of a group of teenagers and all the really unpredictable and fun and amazing spontaneous things that happen when a conversation gets started that everybody's participating in real time. I really miss that a lot.
Because I'm supposed to introduce all the new students to the school. That's been a real challenge, and it's been pretty interesting seeing everybody on campus for the first day. And so now we get to actually introduce them.
That there's a lot that gets lost in translation over Zoom. So I'd say that's the hardest part. And then trying to keep people engaged too. Like that's been like probably the biggest challenge out of anything else.
Yeah, I think this is a really great question, Elias. And I think for me and a few other staff members have brought this up, but we can sum it up in 2 words: black screens.
Logically, I understand why students don't turn their camera on and don't use their voice. And sometimes it's technical, but emotionally, it's just something I just can't understand or haven't been able to understand. So I'm fighting that in my soul, kind of like why kids can't give us a little more. I know why they can't, or I think I know why they can't, but it hurt. It hurt at times. And God, it's so nice to talk to kids in person.
If you could provide one thing for Scriber students right now, what would it be?
I could magically give Scriber students one thing right now, it might be somewhere outside with some nature in it that you could go to anytime and just get away from the screens for a little bit whenever you needed it.
It would be two things. Number one, hope, because it's going to get better. It's starting to get better. And I wish that we could just give you all hugs because we've just missed you so much. So hope and hugs.
I would like to give everyone a sense of ease.
Another like hopeful, magical wish that I can't provide would just be like a path forward, and like more information about what the future holds, which of course none of us know that, but I wish I could provide that.
And I would extend a huge thank you because I know it's not been easy for teachers, and I know it's not been easy for our students either. And there's all kinds of struggles and challenges that students have lived with and had to overcome this year. And I have a deep appreciation for all the work that our students have done.
Number one, I'm thinking $1 million to pursue higher education or start a business for each kid. And then I guess realistically, just opportunities for students to connect with each other, especially the new students.
Helping students discover like a passion in something and kind of giving like intention and direction to like the path that they're going to walk in life. That's my biggest goal over anything else.
I would provide a puppy or a kitten or a hamster, your choice.
I would provide stability going forward and a cup of noodles.
Steep Stairs podcast is produced by the students and staff of Scriber Lake High School with support from Foundry 10. This episode was created by Carly Burrows, Zoe Cautry-Miller, Audrey Givens, Olive Burke-Poole, Fiona Hyatt, Jimmy Sanchez, Savannah Santos, Riley Waters, Logan Weaver, Trig Ballou, Katie Byer, Alexis Seguin, Nora Scott, Elias Fikauri, Hope Josang, Sophie Knight, Yuritsi Ramirez, and Joey Walker. Interviewing for this episode was led by Zoe Cautry-Miller and Elias Fikauri, and editing was done by Carly Burrows, Marjie Bowker, Rachel Ramey, and Chelsea Gorzowski. The featured story, Cicatriz Rosa, was written by Yahaira Souza, and original music was created by Elijah Khan. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for our next episode.